Okay, we'll begin. Again, thank you for joining the presentation on emotional intelligence. My name's Christy. I am a GCAP trainer with San Diego PACE. Throughout the presentation, there will be some questions. We can go ahead and respond within the chat, the answers. And then my camera will be off also during the presentation, but I will be following the chat as well. Thank you. So today's presentation, emotional intelligence, we want to go over what that entails, why it matters or why it's important, some misconceptions, as well as the 5 different. In the chat, go ahead and answer this question. How would you define emotional intelligence? Staying calm, knowing how to deal with situations, so emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and to understand our emotions, and it's the capacity to use the awareness to manage our behavior and to manage our relationship with others. Is emotional intelligence important? It's definitely important, yes. Why do we feel like emotional intelligence is important? Or if you don't feel that it's important, why wouldn't it be important? Improve relationships, yes. So emotional intelligence is not you having to be nice to everyone all the time. Resolving problems, yes, exactly. It's also not always keeping the peace or being positive or optimistic 24/7. It's also not being cold, emotionless, or seeming robotic. It's not genetic, and it doesn't depend on our intellect or our smarts. It is also not a skill women are better at. There's different components of emotional intelligence. So on the personal competence, what I see, so basically our self-awareness. What I do is my self-management. And then when it comes socially, what I see is my social awareness, and what I do is my relationship management. So personally, what I see, this is accurately perceiving our own emotions, and also staying aware as emotions may change. Self-managing, so we're staying flexible and we're positively directing our behavior, and we're trying to manage our emotional reactions. Socially, we're able to pick on and understand other people's emotions. Understanding their emotions does not mean that you have to feel the same way, but we're understanding that they're having whatever emotion that they're having. And understanding social cues. Socially, for relationship management, we're going to use our awareness of these emotions to manage our interactions, and also so we can ensure effective communication and conflict management. Emotional intelligence is going to begin with our own self-awareness, which can be hard, right? So what that is that we want to accurately perceive our emotions. We want to be aware of any emotional changes that occur. Try to remain aware of your reactions and recognize patterns or triggers. So what we can do, and I'm very big on this one, is journaling, making notes of our emotions and our changes in our emotional state. Journaling is a great way for self-growth. It also lets us go back and reflect on certain situations. So maybe we didn't accurately perceive our emotions, or we weren't aware of the emotional change, or how we started off sad, ended up angry, and also our reactions. So we can look back and see, okay, maybe I didn't handle this situation the best way possible, and that's going to help us in how we address and manage our behaviors in the future. This we can also track and reflect on our emotions during difficult conversations. So maybe I didn't think before I spoke, or maybe I reacted out of a certain emotion when I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have taken time to go take a breath, take a walk before reacting. But tracking and reflecting on that, so again, we can manage how we react in the future. Also, owning our actions. This isn't something easy to do, but it definitely makes further communication better. It also helps manage relationships. So we want to take responsible for what we said and what we did. If for some reason, we said something that we shouldn't have, or reacted out of an emotion and we shouldn't have reacted that way, it's very easy to just say, the way that I handled the situation, the way I spoke in that situation was not appropriate. I will work on that in the future and it won't happen again. Next comes our self-management. So this is the ability to use our awareness of emotions to stay flexible and positively direct our behaviors. This helps us manage our emotional reactions to changing environments or people, and to maintain our emotions during stress, turmoil, and pressure. How to improve? Again, we can track our behavior and our reactions so that we can reflect on what we need to change or address. And this is a big one, taking a deep breath before reacting. So everyone is entitled to the emotions, how they're feeling in the situation. Um, you don't have to speak necessarily in that moment. You can respond just by simply saying, I hear what you're saying. I understand that you're feeling this way. Um, I would like to take some time to go ahead and reflect on this, and I will respond once I have an appropriate reaction. You're not able to hear, you might want to log off and log back on. Is everyone else able to hear? Can you put a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me? Okay, perfect. So Maricela, you might want to log out of the meeting and then log back in. Okay, so taking a deep breath before reacting. And then next, thinking before react. So again, taking that deep breath before responding or thinking before react is definitely kind of hard to do in the moment. But the more you track and reflect on our behaviors and our reactions, we understand that taking that breath or thinking before we act can help us in preventing any miscommunication, misunderstandings, sometimes escalating a situation, letting us process our thoughts so that we can communicate a little bit more effectively. Social awareness, this is using the ability to accurately sense emotions in others and understand what's really going on. So once we can get a sense of our own emotions and our own reactions, we can start to notice these emotions in others. And we can understand, okay, this person is acting aggressively or anger. It's a participant, a patient, a family member, a loved one. but we might be able to see past why they're angry. Yes, they're angry. Yes, this is their behavior, but why? Okay, they didn't sleep the night before. They're hungry, they're thirsty, they're in pain. But we can kind of sense the real issue. And then again, understanding that that's their emotion, that's their feeling, that's their reaction, even if we don't feel the same way. Maybe in that same situation, the other person is showing signs of sadness and we wouldn't have reacted that way. Maybe that same situation might have made us happy. And then their reactions. We might not have reacted a certain way to a certain situation. We would have reacted differently, but that's their reaction. So we want to understand even if we don't feel the same way. Also, this helps us to understand even if they don't say it out loud. This is really important in working with patients or with our loved ones that we're providing care for because there are some people that can't verbally express to us what's going on, if they're feeling pain. So we can kind of pick up on these social cues or on the emotions that they're exhibiting so that we can understand a little bit what's going on. How to improve? So again, this is the social awareness. So this is just spending the extra time or just simply taking the time to observe the whole situation. Also by asking, what is it they're feeling? What's going on? What is the situation? And listening. Actually listening, so we're not asking what's going on and kind of doing other things at the same time. We want to make sure that we're giving them our full attention so we can hear what exactly is going on. Practice our active listening. And suspending our judgment. So again, we have our emotions, we have the way we would react to certain situations or emotions. However, the other person has their emotions and their reactions as well. So we want to understand that they're entitled to how they feel and not judge them for their feelings, not judge them for their reactions to the situation, but just understand what's going on so that we can assist in the situation. And also read body language. This is really important. There's some people that might not want you in their personal space. They might not want you next to them if they're kind of in an angry state. They might show signs that they really don't want to speak about it. So in that situation, maybe you're just telling them, I'm here for you to support you. If you'd like to talk about it, I understand that you're upset. I'm here when you're ready to talk. Or maybe, you can pick up on the body language and they're upset, but if this is your loved one or a patient, maybe they haven't had anything to eat or drink, or, kind of, if coffee might, them just sitting down having some coffee or some water so they can process their thoughts and emotions. Maybe you get them a glass of water or get them a glass of coffee, just depending on the person that you're taking care of. And then decipher emotions in speech. So again, not everybody can verbally tell us what's going on or if they're in pain or if they're angry about something or something is making them sad. But we can kind of pick up in speech if they're kind of slow in speaking or processing their thoughts. Maybe they're using profanity. Maybe the tone of their voice is escalating. So we can kind of pick up in a normal conversation when things are changing or maybe certain emotions are being displayed. In managing relationships, so again, we're in the social competency. This is the ability to use our awareness of their emotions to positively manage interactions. So your first interaction is going to be whether this is something that can be addressed in the moment, whether this person needs to walk away and come back once they've processed their emotions. But it's going to help you kind of interact or know whether you can even interact with that person at that time. This also ensures that we have clear communication and effective conflict management. How to improve? We work on building high quality, high trust relationships. So if you're taking care of somebody, in speaking to them and asking them questions, you're allowing them to be vulnerable and open up to you. So if they're trusting you with a certain situation or emotion or something that they're going through, this would mean that, we aren't going and telling our coworkers in kind of a gossipy manner, um, but we want to keep their trust because we want them to know that they came to us with this and that they're able to come to us in the future should they need somebody to talk to or open up with. And we want to practice asking questions as a tool. So simple questions so that you can engage conversation. If you see somebody upset, you see somebody sad, you kind of want to open up that person. I can see that this is upsetting you, or I can, you're kind of quiet today. Is there something that you'd like to talk about? So just simple questions to see if you can engage a conversation or have them open up to you. Being quick to settle disputes, disagreements, and misunderstandings. This can vary. So, if you have somebody that needs to walk away to process the emotion, to process the situation, you want to allow that person to walk away, get their breath, and come back when you can have that effective communication. So, being quick to settle disputes does not mean to sit there and kind of go back and forth until one person wins. That's not what we're saying. We want both people to be able to process how they're feeling about the scenario, and process their thoughts so that they can communicate more effectively. So whatever time frame that be, maybe this is even to where you don't speak on it, and then later in the afternoon or the evening or the next morning, you can come back and converse on what happened the day before. But you definitely don't want a dispute or a disagreement or a misunderstanding to go days or weeks or months, because sometimes then there's no coming back from that, right? Maybe this is a family member, you have a disagreement, you don't have any effective communication after this disagreement, and you don't speak for a week or two. A week or two can turn into months, can turn into years, and now you're not speaking to that family member. Um, Also, if this is somebody that you're taking care of or a patient and you don't settle the misunderstanding, or communicate about that misunderstanding, it could affect future conversations with that person, or them opening up to you, or them even trusting you to take care of them. So the emotional competence framework, again, this is the self-awareness. So our emotional awareness, we accurately self-assess ourselves. So we're making sure that, we're saying we are upset in this situation. It's definitely making us upset, and we own our reactions of that emotion. And this is also our self-confidence. Motivation, so our achievement drive, our commitment, our initiative, and our optimism. Empathy, this is understanding others, developing others, our service orientation. Self-regulation would be our self-control. Trustworthiness, adaptability. Also, we need to be flexible and adapt to different environments and different emotions. And then our social skills. So the influence, how we resolve conflict, or our conflict management. Collaboration and cooperation. So maybe, this situation wasn't handled the best way possible. You can collaborate with your team. Maybe there's different family members taking care of the participant or patient. Maybe there's different caregivers involved in the care of this person. Or even if you work for an agency, you can kind of collaborate, how can we handle this better in the future? Or if there's a certain trigger for that patient that gets them upset, gets them frustrated, makes them sad, maybe we're learning ways that we can manage that and prevent those triggers if possible. Social skills, it's also our communication, our leadership, building bonds, and then team capabilities. I'm very big on teamwork, which is again why I say, we want to build that trust. We want people to know that they can come to us, and that we're not going to go out and kind of spread the news or gossip about the situation, but that we're going to work together to find a possible solution. This is our in-person training, so I'm going to skip past this. We're going to watch this video on emotional intelligence. So how do you guys feel about the presentation? Do you feel that emotional intelligence is something that should be taught in school? I definitely agree it should be taught in school. Like the video said, some of us are better at recognizing our emotions, recognizing emotions in others, understanding that, and managing our relationships accordingly. And there's those of us that have to work a little bit harder at it. But I definitely feel that this should be something that's taught in school, just because it does help have professional relationships, better personal relationships. So it's definitely important. So with empathy, when confronted, do you get defensive or do you allow the other person to finish expressing themselves before you respond? Let others express themselves. So sometimes it's easy, human nature, right, to start getting defensive, but if we don't allow the other person to fully express themselves, we might even misunderstand what they're saying, what they're telling us, the emotion that they're feeling. So we want to make sure that we allow them to express themselves so we can kind of get the full picture and then process the information accordingly, right? How do you make sure other people know that you're active listening? Eye contact, yes, so we're not distracted, kind of doing something else, but we're giving them our attention with eye contact. Repeating what they say. So this we call acknowledging. Basically, you're repeating what they say or what they mentioned to you back to them just to ensure that you have it correct, first of all, because if not, then they can go ahead and tell you again what's going on. But yes, it does also let them know that you're listening as well. What sensations do you feel either physically or emotionally when someone's expressing deep emotions? So for some people, they may get emotional. They might even get physically sick if someone is expressing deep emotions and they're unable to kind of process, acknowledge, or understand what the other person is feeling. Some people, if someone is telling them something that's kind of sad or upsetting, they might be sad for them, or share those emotions with them. If someone's really angry, this can also, you might feel upset or angry for that person. Maybe you're not upset at the situation or angry as well, but you're kind of feeling their emotions. This is something that we do in our in-person classes, um, but we can also ask in here. So how do you communicate to others that you value them, their stories, or their opinions? Tell them and follow up. Sometimes this is something as simple as saying, I really appreciate that you helped me the other day, or I really appreciate you taking the time to communicate with me or talk to me or let me know how you're feeling. Um, Also, maybe this is a patient or someone that you're taking care of and you really enjoy the stories. I know a lot of our older population, they love to reminisce and it's good to help boost their mood and their overall well-being. But sometimes, our shift is over or we have other tasks that need to get done. So just letting them know, I really enjoy hearing about that summer vacation. I really enjoy hearing about your son when he was 10 years old and played soccer. I would love to hear more about this tomorrow. But letting them know that, you do enjoy the situation, the story, them voicing their concerns or whatever the case may be. How do you foster collaboration? So this would be um, to collaborate. Are you kind of for me, I've been in the medical field for 20 years. Am I going to always say set in my ways? Am I going to allow others to give me feedback for my own growth and improvement? Maybe somebody coming in that's fresh out of school, they have ideas because they're kind of looking as an outsider in and they have new ways of doing things that can um, take better care of our patient or participant. Maybe there's better clinic flow. So kind of collaborating, allowing for others to put in their input, maybe even trying different ways to see what works best for that person, right? Or for that patient or the loved one that we're taking care of. When you have to share credit for a task, how does that make you feel? So first, let's say you did all of the work for the task, but you're sharing credit because it was more than one of you assigned to it. How would you feel? So this can vary. If you did all the work, but you're sharing credit, you might get a little upset, right? Because you feel kind of like you did everything. They're not acknowledging the fact that you did everything versus you worked cohesively with a team or another caregiver or another family member, and you both got the task done together and you're sharing credit, then, you might be a little happier about it, right? Because that was great teamwork, and you're both kind of getting recognized. So it might depend on the situation. When someone else is getting frustrated or agitated, how do you react? Try to understand why. So that's good for managing our relationships, right? Or calm them down or de-escalate the situation. So this can vary. Some people, they see somebody upset, they might just walk away. If this is someone that you're taking care of or a patient, that's probably not the best idea because then they might just kind of keep spiraling downhill and getting more and more agitated or frustrated. So de-escalation is really good. De-escalation works best if you react sooner than later. So if you see someone starting to get frustrated or agitated and you start to de-escalate them, this can prevent violence. This can prevent future outbursts or um, de-escalate the whole situation in general. Other people, when someone is frustrated, they might be the hype person. They might be going along with it, which is really going to escalate the situation because then you're just enabling that person to keep getting more and more upset. So the best thing is, yes, de-escalating, communication, try to understand what's upsetting them, what's agitating them, and try to come up with a solution so that we can calm down this situation or scenario that we're in, but also so that we can manage future reactions like that. So in summary, emotional intelligence is a skill that must be honed. This is something that's lifelong growth. There's no finish line. My reactions are not always the best reactions. My communication is definitely not always perfect, but I do journal. I can go back. I can reflect on what I said. I can reflect on what I did and grow from it and learn from it and manage future reactions of that same caliber, or the way it helps me to communicate better with other people. The first step is definitely our own self-awareness and our own self-management, um, so that we can start to be more aware of others, and manage our relationships with others. In stressful situations, always remember that only your reactions are under control. You can't control how the other person is feeling, their reactions they might be experiencing. Yes, you can work with them, you can communicate with them, you can try to de-escalate the situation, but first, you just need to be aware, and manage your own reactions because that's what's under control. Any questions on emotional intelligence?